Welcome back, guys. This episode, I thought I'd show you a little bit of the irrigation system that I have going in my veggie area. Now, different beds need different setups and different methods work differently. So I'll just run you through a few of the methods that I'm using. So this first method is just pots. So this is my advanced tree area. If you don't know what an advanced tree area is, basically you either buy or get seedlings that come up in the garden and everywhere. Small, you pot them up, you keep potting them up bigger and bigger until they're big, and when they're the size you want, you plant them out. And for example, this is a English plane tree that I picked up a heap of these from my father-in-law's front garden. Literally they were about 50 mil high, and that was about 2 and a bit years, maybe 3 years ago. I've potted them up 3 times now, and they are probably about 7-8 foot tall. So I don't know what this would be worth at nursery. Probably if you went and bought it today, maybe 40 or 50 bucks. So definitely worth doing. Anyway, back on subject. Pots dry out very, very quickly. They require constant water. So what I have set up is that pots in the advanced section here are on their own zone. So there's multiple watering zones, which I'll show you. And the best way to water these is we have a little sprayer attached to every pot that sprays directly into each pot. So it's got a flexible hose, goes all back to a central line. And I'll show you this one, looks a bit better. It's a big tangle of hoses here. It all goes back to a central pipe. This is 19 mil poly, runs up, and they're all joined together here, and then across to the irrigation system. So that's the first type. So that's our pot, how we water the pots. The second type is how we water the raised beds. Now, drip irrigation, very slow, but it's very precise, and there's no wastage of water. So it's my choice for raised beds. The other advantage to this is that I can use the pipes as rows for planting different things in beds. And if it's in the way, you can just pick it up, move it. It just hinges up off that central band of pipe that runs right around this area. So this dripper line, which you can get from your local irrigation place, has little drip holes in it, about every 300 to 400 mil, and they approximately wet out to 200 mil. So there's a circle around each one that gets wet. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see. And in summer it's a bit more evident, these circles. But the idea is that I'll space these pipes out so that the wet areas touch each other and you get nice, even watering across the whole bed. Now you can run piping for them like this all the way around garden beds. I chose to put a tap in to isolate each bed if I want. And then I've also got different zones. So that's an outside zone, and then I've got a middle zone, which is our middle beds here. These have the same dripper line, but it's just an aerial pipe. This is just 13 mil poly, feeds each one with a tap again, and then it all comes back and tees off. Hopefully you can see that, maybe not. So the 19 mil feed line that runs all the way down through here. And then it goes across here and down the tray and back to the irrigation system, which we'll touch on again. So that's the second type of watering we're doing. The third type in here is the wicking beds. So wicking beds don't need watering constantly. They just need topping up every couple of weeks. So I've run an aerial line to each of these with a tap. Tap stays turned off in the off position. Nice little garden hose fitting. Connect them up, and this feeds the bottom of the tank, which is live all the time. And every couple of weeks, I turn this zone on, turn the tap on, and let them fill. And when they're full, the water pours out this overflow here. And you can adjust the level of water in this tank by just moving the overflow up and down. So simple. This is the inlet at the bottom, and then the outlet and the overflow there. So that's the third type. So wicking beds, amazing. Like it soaks up through the soil, stays wet all the time. It's ideal, and this bed looks a bit ruddy, but this is the bed I use generally all through summer for propagating seeds, because you want seeds wet all the time. The soaker hoses that are in these other beds, through summer we water once a day, and this runs for about an hour. So it seems like a long time, but each of these holes only puts out about 4 litres per minute. So it's not a lot of water that you're putting out. So yeah, 45 to an hour, just depends, and that's adjusted through the controller. I'll show you that in a minute. So wicking beds every couple of weeks. These are every day for 45 an hour. The pots over here, they dry out very quickly in summer. So I actually water them twice a day, only for a couple of minutes, because these individual sprinklers put out a lot of water. All right, now over here in the hothouse, once again, I've got individual sprinklers for all the bigger pots, and pots that are underneath here. So these are basically, I put these on the trees and plants that need a lot more water. They need the bulk of the water. Now, to water everything else in here, I'm using some aerial watering. So I've actually got a MP rotator, which is up there. Hopefully you can see it. See, it's mounted to the roof. And when it's on, it literally mists this whole room, provides a lot of moisture, and keeps everything wet. And at the moment, I'm relying on that to keep these seeds wet every day, which you can see it's doing a really good job. Now, irrigation in the veggie patch is all well and good, but I can stress that it doesn't replace hand watering and keeping an eye on what's going on. So I still have a couple of hoses running out here, with some hose reels. One's over here. And there are times of the year when you will need to supplement water some vegetables. Some things like lots of water. I had cucumbers over in this bed here over summer last year. Cucumbers, you can't water them enough. They just love it. So the 3 lines of drip irrigation in that bed weren't going to be enough. So just keep an eye on things. The irrigation is a base watering, so it keeps constant water to everything, but you do need to adjust it now and again and do a bit of extra watering by hand just to keep an eye on things. So this is a good example here of one of the if you look at this area, you can see this area here is dark, right where the hole for the drip line is, and there's another one here and here. So it's showing that darkness is where it's run today. So all right, so that's the types of irrigation sprinklers and drippers that I'm using for different parts of the garden. And you'll notice it all comes back to this central hub. Now, this is the irrigation system which runs the veggie patch and the veggie patch only. I've got a separate system that runs the rest of the farm, the lawns, other gardens, the orchard, all that sort of stuff, which I'll show you on a separate video. But today I just wanted to give you this bit of information. It might look very complicated and technical, but really it's not, and most of you could set up this yourself, or with very little help do something similar. I'll run you through the system, okay? So this is our 25mm metric poly that comes up out of the ground. Now that does run back all the way to our pump shed, and it's fed by dam water from our dam pump. I've got a fire outlet here, which we can hook up a fire hose, a tap outlet, just a bit lower than it. And then this is an isolation valve, which allows you to do work on the system. And then up ahead here, we've got a water meter. So this is wired back to the hydro wire system in here, which I'll show you in a second. And as water is used, the little dial spins on here, it sends a signal back to the controller and reports how many litres of water you're using. The next thing in the system is a 130 micron filter. Super important because you don't want gunk and dirt and debris to go through and block up all your individual sprinkler heads. Very frustrating having to go around and clean them all. If you have a filter, you can just turn the water off here, pull the filter out, and it's super easy to clean it. Let's open it up and I'll show you what it looks like. So I need a tool for that. I'll show you another day what that one is. Now, continuing on, we've got a manifold. So this is what this line of outlets are. Now it's going to leak. And all these pipes coming down here are all the different zones. So this is what we call a solenoid, or it's like electronic tap. So when power from the controller here goes to these two wires, this solenoid turns on, water goes up from our manifold into that zone and waters whatever that zone is. So there's a solenoid for every zone here, and then I've actually got an outlet pipe here that runs over through the roof and feeds the reels that are over here. So that's all that is. Now, the brains of the show are over here. We've got a power point. We've got a Wi-Fi access point because this system connects to the internet and needs Wi-Fi. And then we've got our Hunter HC. So this is our hydro ice controller. Now these are the cable colours and what zone they run to here. This is our controller. We can tap the screen here. Now there's two ways of running this controller. We can run it on our mobile phone to control it anywhere in the world. Set it up over the internet. I can set it up on the computer, or we can set it up here at the controller and run it manually. So if I go to zones here, hopefully you can see that. You can see this 5 zones. I've got one spare, which is zone 6, and we can click on them. You can adjust the frequency, how long it's running for. I've named it, sensors, and you can manually turn it on and run it. It's also showing down here it's got Wi-Fi signal and it's ready to start. Status, the sensors, controller status, all that sort of stuff, and we can test zones. So basically this controller just puts power down this cable to each of these solenoids when the program tells it to, and waters your garden. That's how that works. Now the beauty of this system, and there might be others that do it, but I found that this one is a ripper system, is its ability to talk on the cloud to other units and to be controlled. So this system actually connects to the cloud and gets weather information and bases its watering programs and changes the programs, so the duration of the water, how long and how often it's going to water, and it can work out the evaporation based on the wind speed and how much rain we've had, how much sun we've had. It can customize, so we program in a base irrigation plan for a set of zones, and then it will actually change them throughout the season for us according to the weather, which is just amazing. So we're not wasting water, we're applying more water when we need it. Now I'll show you another quick little gadget we've got. Now I'll shut this gate. Now just mind all the junk out here. Some more established trees and some trailers and things. But you'll notice up here is our personal wind and weather station. This is a Holman brand. So it actually is recording wind speed, rainfall, wind direction, humidity, sun, records everything. All that information gets sent back via wireless to a controller at my office, and then that is broadcast to the internet, to a program called Weather Underground, and the HydroWise system that we've got set up in here actually picks up that information about the weather and uses it to monitor and keep the farm irrigated. So we're not relying on weather stations that are 20 or 30 kilometres away and inaccurate. We get exactly the right watering for our farm and where we are here. So that's about it, guys. There's a little bit to it. There's lots to learn. I have a real keen interest in it. I love the irrigation, and I love a bit of smarts about things. These HydroWise controllers are an awesome setup. I will at some point do a video on the HydroWise app and how to run it. I won't do it today because I'm recording on my phone, so not sure how I'd do that. But yeah, hopefully you've learned something. There is lots of different controllers and solenoids and things around. Anyone who wanted to set up an irrigation system, it's not hard. Most of your irrigation shops, I'm not talking about Bunnings, I'm talking about proper irrigation shops. If you go in there, have a chat to them and tell them what you want, what sort of beds you like to water, they can design a plan for you and show you how to put together, or if that way inclined, they could even install it for you. So lots of options there. Alright, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you next time.